Okay, we are going to enter the microchip clinic that was done on July the 15th. First thing we need to do is get into Petpoint. Okay, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to create an ownership record. So you go to Edit, go down to Ownership, Guardianship, create a new owner guardianship record. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to search for the name of the person just to be sure we're not duplicating if they should be in our database for any other reason. All right, we have a Catherine and a Whitney, but that is not the correct person. So I'm going to go down here, which 99.9% of the time is you're always going to be creating a new person. All right, so we start from our source document, enter the information. If they put a middle initial, you could enter it. Not a required field. We don't worry about the date of birth. If you look at your source document and see that there's no email address, you're going to want to click this box because email is a required field unless this box is checked. I've run across one so far that doesn't have an email address. The same would be true with phone number and addresses, but I don't think you're going to run across that. We know from looking at the source document we do have that information, so we don't need to specify that there isn't. Street name, what I always forget is you put in the street name, but you don't put the type in until you get over here. 32nd, this happens to be an avenue, and there's no direction after. For city and state, you start with the zip code. This is the easiest, quickest way to do it. You can tab over to this green button. When you click enter, it's going to look up the city and state based on the zip code you entered, so that's helpful. All right, we go down to phone number, and they have entered just one, which is fine. If they would enter two, you'd have to pick one as the primary. I usually do the home phone, but if they only have one, you can click that box. You don't have to. And again, the backspace doesn't work on this. If you make a mistake, you have to move the cursor and type over top, same as we have with dates from before. So that's her phone number, email address. Oh, and notice they have home here, which this is a required field. So if it was a cell phone, you would want to change this to cell phone. Email address are tricky to read generally. Do the best you can. That's all we can do. All right, and here's one I always forget. This type also has to be entered. So we have all of our person's information. We're going to add that person. Now you notice the tab has changed. Now we're going to add the animal. So we create new animal. Reference number, we're going to put in Microchip 0715, and I'll explain why we're doing that. But 0715 is the date that this occurred. And we're going to do this so that if we want to pull up a report, this is the easiest way to reference that information. Okay, whoops. Go over to dog. Believe it or not, I had to call some people because they didn't enter the dog's name. Pretty sure I got all the information we need. This particular dog is a lab, so I usually just skip down to the R's. You can either choose retriever, or since it is marked Labrador Retriever, we'll choose that. Age, it's easiest to put in their birth date. If they did just put number of years, then you would put that over here and it would estimate the birthday. But since we have the birth date, we can do that this way. Remember, this is the date field. If you have to retype things, you have to go back and reposition your cursor and type it over. Okay? calculated the age group. This dog is 8 months, so it would fall into the young adult category. And it's a male. It is not spayed yet. Size, we just guess on. Since it's a lab, we're going to say it's large. Animal condition, always enter appears normal. The color from the sheet here is yellow. If they don't enter color, you just have to guess something because it's a required field. Okay? Then skip picture, go down to microchip number here. On your source document is in the right hand corner. They've placed a sticker. Oops. And this one, the backspace does work. I don't know the reasoning there, but we'll take it. And get that entered in. Okay, when you go over here, I always type, you can push it, get the menu down if you want. A little trick I use was just to type the 2, then 24 Pet Watch comes up, tab over for the date, and here it's important that you change this to 7/15 because that's the date of the microchip. We don't need to do anything for stage, so we can add the animal. And now you see we have our details tab, which is how we'll finish this up. And here's why we entered that reference number of microchip 0715. If you look here, they are not allowing us to change the date. I would want this to be the 15th because that's when the microchip clinic occurred, but they're not allowing us to change it. So we designated over here in that reference field, the microchip 715 reference field. Okay, probably need to choose me if you're not in here yet, but all you have to do on this screen is click consent, click yes, and submit ownership. And you're done. For the next dog then, you start over, go to the top, click ownership guardianship, create new ownership guardianship, and then start from that point.